Hey, have you heard? A little movie called Avengers: Infinity War is making its debut this weekend. The upcoming blockbuster has quite a lot riding on it, as it is essentially being billed as the culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe thus far. And as fans have seen so far this week, with the initial social media reactions to Infinity War and the official reviews that debuted yesterday, that amount of hype appears to have paid off. And while we still have a bit of time until Infinity War officially premieres this weekend, there are already a few metrics to judge the film's expected success. One of those things is the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, which aggregates the overall response from film critics into a numerical rating. Granted, Infinity War's tomato meter ranking is expected to be in flux, and will probably level out at a different number once more critics get a chance to see and review the film. But for now, we thought we'd look at Avengers: Infinity War's current Rotten Tomatoes ranking, and where it falls in relation to the MCU movies that came before it. Tomato meter, 66%. Falling at the bottom of the list, to the surprise of probably no one, is Thor: The Dark World. After being a scene stealer in Thor and the Avengers, Dark World provided the return of Chris Hemsworth's God of Thunder, but didn't really provide much else. Even Rotten Tomatoes critics' consensus put things in a sort of apathetic tone, saying that Dark World may not be the finest film to come from the Marvel Universe, but it still offers plenty of the humor and high-stakes action that fans have come to expect. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. In ancient times, the gods of Asgard fought and won a war against an evil race known as the Dark Elves. The survivors were neutralized, and their ultimate weapon, the Ether, was buried in a secret location. Hundreds of years later, Jane Foster, Natalie Portman, finds the Ether and becomes its host, forcing Thor Chris Hemsworth to bring her to Asgard before Dark Elf Malekith Christopher Eccleston captures her and uses the weapon to destroy the 9 realms, including Earth. Tomato meter, 67%. Edging out Dark World is The Incredible Hulk, a film with a weird sort of standing within the MCU. While Edward Norton's turn as Bruce Banner kept the ball rolling after the release of the first Iron Man, it essentially previewed the large connected cinematic universe that we had today, the film still had some missteps. Rotten Tomatoes critics' consensus seems to agree, mentioning the film's occasionally puny narrative, and saying that the film was not quite the smashing success that Hulk fans hoped for. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Scientist Bruce Banner, Edward Norton, desperately seeks a cure for the gamma radiation that contaminated his cells and turned him into the Hulk. Cut off from his true love Betty Ross, Liv Tyler, and forced to hide from his nemesis, Jen Thunderbolt Ross, William Hurt, Banner soon comes face to face with a new threat, a supremely powerful enemy known as the Abomination. Tim Roth, Photo, Marvel Entertainment. Tomato meter, 73%. Next on the list is Iron Man 2, a film that always seems to fall towards the end of rankings like these. The film gave fans more of Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, with a supporting cast that includes current MCU favorites like Black Widow and War Machine. But even then, it can be said that the film suffers from a bit of sequel fatigue. As Rotten Tomatoes puts it, the film isn't quite the breath of fresh air that its predecessor was. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. With the world now aware that he is Iron Man, billionaire inventor Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., faces pressure from all sides to share his technology with the military. He is reluctant to divulge the secrets of his armored suit, fearing the information will fall into the wrong hands. With Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Rhodey Rhodes, Don Cheadle, by his side, Tony must forge new alliances and confront a powerful new enemy. Tomato meter, 75%. Another sequel that is certified fresh but still among the lower-rated entries is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Earth's mightiest heroes faced off against a villain of their own creation, James Spader's maniacal Ultron. Fans were introduced to future Avengers Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, and Vision, Paul Bettany, and were given a glimpse of what to expect once Phase 3 rolled around. Packing this much into a film both had its positives and negatives, with Rotten Tomatoes calling it overstuffed by mostly satisfying. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. When Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., jumpstarts a dormant peacekeeping program, things go terribly awry, forcing him, Thor Chris Hemsworth, the Incredible Hulk Mark Ruffalo, and the rest of the Avengers to reassemble. As the fate of Earth hangs in the balance, the team is put to the ultimate test as they battle Ultron, a technological terror hell-bent on human extinction. Along the way, they encounter two mysterious and powerful newcomers, Pietro and Wanda Maximoff. Photo, Marvel Studios, Marvel Entertainment. Tomato meter 77%. Earning just a bit higher is The God of Thunder's first venture, 2011's Thor. The Kenneth Branagh-directed film helped bring the character officially into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in an admittedly risky way. The film went from a Shakespearean family drama to an action-packed fish-out-of-water story, all while further establishing the MCU. At the time, the film was received pretty positively, with Rotten Tomatoes calling it a dazzling blockbuster that tempers its sweeping scope with wit, humor, and human drama. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. As the son of Odin, Anthony Hopkins, king of the Norse gods, Thor Chris Hemsworth will soon inherit the throne of Asgard from his aging father. However, on the day that he is to be crowned, Thor reacts with brutality when the god's enemies, the Frost Giants, enter the palace in violation of their treaty. As punishment, Odin banishes Thor to Earth. While Loki, Tom Hiddleston, Thor's brother, plots mischief in Asgard, Thor, now stripped of his powers, faces his greatest threat. Photo, Marvel Entertainment. Tomato meter 79%. Next on the list is another Phase 1 venture, which introduced Chris Evans' Steve Rogers, Captain America, to the world. Many MCU fans seem to have a soft spot for the film, especially as it introduced fan-favorite characters like Bucky Barnes and Peggy Carter. The Rotten Tomatoes consensus seems to be similarly positive, saying that the film has a pleasantly retro vibe and is solidly old-fashioned blockbuster entertainment. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. It is 1941 and the world is in the throes of war. Steve Rogers, Chris Evans, wants to do his part and join America's armed forces, but the military rejects him because of his small stature. Finally, Steve gets his chance when he is accepted into an experimental program that turns him into a super soldier called Captain America. Joining forces with Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan, and Peggy Carter, Haley Atwell, Captain America leads the fight against the Nazi-backed Hydra organization. Photo, Marvel Studios. Tomato meter 80%. The next film is Phase 2's first official entry, 2013's Iron Man 3. The film certainly has some bright spots, including Shane Black's directing and Downey's emotional performance. But ultimately, the film serves more as a sort of connective tissue between the MCU's phases than a notable standalone. Rotten Tomatoes' outlook on the film is similarly positive, praising the witty, entertaining adventure for its impressive action sequences and charismatic lead. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Plagued with worry and insomnia since saving New York from destruction, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., now is more dependent on the suits that give him his Iron Man persona, so much so that every aspect of his life is affected, including his relationship with Pepper, Gwyneth Paltrow. After a malevolent enemy known as the Mandarin, Ben Kingsley, reduces his personal world to rubble, Tony must rely solely on instinct and ingenuity to avenge his losses and protect the people he loves. Photo, Marvel Entertainment, and scoring just a few points higher than that is Phase 2's final film, Ant-Man. After the massive scale of Age of Ultron, Ant-Man provided fans with a much smaller, unintended alternative. Paul Rudd starred as Scott Lang, the former criminal-turned-size-changing superhero, in a venture that provided plenty of comedy, MCU Easter eggs, and small-scale fun. Rotten Tomatoes praised the film for just that, saying that Ant-Man's thrills are on an appropriately smaller scale, one that can be appreciated even as the film isn't as smooth as its predecessors. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. With the ability to shrink in size but grow in strength, a con man, Paul Rudd, must help his mentor, Michael Douglas, protect the secret of his Ant-Man suit and pull off a heist that will save the world. Tomato meter 83%. Jumping forward a few years to Phase 3, the last year's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 just cracks the top 10 of MCU tomato meter rankings. After the original Guardians film took fans by surprise, the franchise came back to be bigger and more emotional than ever. The film's merry band of misfits were sent on a unique cosmic adventure, one that brought them face-to-face with Ego the Living Planet, Kurt Russell. The film was heralded by Rotten Tomatoes for its action-packed plot, dazzling visuals, and irreverent humor, but was slightly knocked for not being quite as thrillingly fresh as the first Guardians film. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Set to the backdrop of Awesome Mixtape 2 continues the team's adventures as they traverse the outer reaches of the cosmos. The Guardians must fight to keep their newfound family together as they unravel the mysteries of Peter Quill's true parentage. Old foes become new allies and fan-favorite characters from the classic comics will come to our heroes' aid as the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to expand. Tomato meter, 87%. That's right. At the time of this writing, Avengers: Infinity War scores around the middle of the pack of overall MCU films, falling from its initial score of 90% to a current ranking of 87%. According to Rotten Tomatoes, Avengers: Infinity War ably juggles a dizzying array of MCU heroes in the fight against their gravest threat yet, and the result is a thrilling, emotionally resonant blockbuster that mostly realizes its gargantuan ambitions. You can check out the official synopsis for the film below. As the Avengers and their allies have continued to protect the world from threats too large for any one hero to handle, a new danger has emerged from the cosmic shadows: Thanos. A despot of intergalactic infamy, his goal is to collect all 6 Infinity Stones, artifacts of unimaginable power, and use them to inflict his twisted will on all of reality. Everything the Avengers have fought for has led up to this moment. The fate of Earth and existence itself has never been more uncertain. Tomato meter, 89%. Doctor Strange falls next on the list, bringing audiences a completely different kind of cosmic adventure. While the film certainly has its flaws, namely the whitewashing controversy surrounding Tilda Swinton's role, the film has grown to have a bit more relevance, especially with its stunning visuals and its further exploration of the cosmic corner of the MCU. The Rotten Tomatoes consensus seems to focus on the positive, saying that the film delivers a thoroughly entertaining superhero origin story, while bringing outre source material into the cinematic universe. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Marvel's Doctor Strange follows the story of the talented neurosurgeon Dr. Stephen Strange who, after a tragic car accident, must put ego aside and learn the secrets of a hidden world of mysticism and alternate dimensions. Based in New York City's Greenwich Village, Doctor Strange must act as an intermediary between the real world and what lies beyond, utilizing a vast array of metaphysical abilities and artifacts to protect the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Photo: Marvel Entertainment. Tomato meter, 89%. Earning the same tomato meter number as Doctor Strange, but a significantly higher audience score, is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. To a lot of Marvel fans, Winter Soldier is one of the major standouts thus far of the MCU, delivering a worthy sequel with high-intensity action and real consequences. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, they argue that the film is suspenseful and politically astute, a superior entry in the Avengers canon, and is sure to thrill Marvel diehards. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. After the cataclysmic events in New York with his fellow Avengers, Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, Chris Evans, lives in the nation's capital as he tries to adjust to modern times. Attack on a S.H.I.E.L.D. colleague throws Rogers into a web of intrigue that places the whole world at risk. Joining forces with the Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, and a new ally, the Falcon, Rogers struggles to expose an ever-widening conspiracy, but he and his team soon come up against an unexpected enemy. Photo: Marvel Entertainment. Tomato meter, 91%. The final chapter in the Captain America trilogy is next on the list, with Civil War earning just a few points more. The first film of Phase 3 brought almost all of the Avengers, and some new faces, together, in a rousing debate about the ethics of superheroics. Rotten Tomatoes praised the film's decidedly non-cartoonish plot and the courage to explore thought-provoking themes while delivering an action-packed superhero blockbuster in the process. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Marvel's Captain America: Civil War finds Steve Rogers leading the newly formed team of Avengers in their continued efforts to safeguard humanity. But after another incident involving the Avengers results in collateral damage, political pressure mounts to install a system of accountability, headed by a governing body to oversee and direct the team. The new status quo fractures the Avengers, resulting in two camps, one led by Steve Rogers and his desire for the Avengers to remain free to defend humanity without government interference, and the other following Tony Stark's surprising decision to support government oversight and accountability. Photo: Marvel Entertainment. Tomato meter, 91%. Scoring the same as Civil War's 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, a film that expanded the MCU's cosmos into a new, and needed, direction. Along the way, audiences got their first taste of the charismatic performances from the film's ensemble, as well as the impressive directing and soundtrack selection from James Gunn. And of course, Guardians gave us the biggest dose of Josh Brolin's Thanos, further setting up his Infinity War tyranny. Rotten Tomatoes said that Guardians was just as irreverent as fans of the source material would expect, and was packed with bonus heart and visual splendor. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Brash space adventurer Peter Quill, Chris Pratt, finds himself the quarry of relentless bounty hunters after he steals an orb coveted by Ronan, a powerful villain. To evade Ronan, he is forced into an uneasy truce with four disparate misfits: gun-toting Rocket Raccoon, tree-like humanoid Groot, enigmatic Gamora, and vengeance-driven Drax the Destroyer. But when he discovers the orb's true power and the cosmic threat it poses, he must rally his ragtag group to save the universe. Tomato meter, 91%, earning just 1 point higher on the tomato meter is another cosmic MCU adventure, Thor: Ragnarok. Thor: Ragnarok completely revitalized the Thor solo franchise, thanks to Taika Waititi's vision for a colorful, galaxy-hopping blockbuster. The film introduced fans to new characters such as Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie and Jeff Goldblum's scene-stealing Grandmaster, and also provided fans with the Thor-Hulk buddy comedy they didn't know they wanted. Rotten Tomatoes critics seemed to have a similar view of Ragnarok, saying that the exciting, funny, and above all fun film sets a new standard for the MCU. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Imprisoned, the mighty Thor finds himself in a lethal gladiatorial contest against the Hulk, his former ally. Thor must fight for survival and race against time to prevent the all-powerful Hela from destroying his homeland, the Asgardian civilization. Tomato meter, 92%, also earning 92% on the tomato meter is another 2017 film, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Homecoming gave fans a new context of the iconic character, following the challenges of Peter being a superhero in high school. The end result was part superhero movie, part teen comedy, and a bunch of fun throughout. Rotten Tomatoes echoed this, saying that the colorful, fun adventure fits snugly in the MCU, without having to worry about building a new franchise. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. Thrilled by his experience with the Avengers, young Peter Parker returns home to live with his Aunt May. Under the watchful eye of mentor Tony Stark, Parker starts to embrace his newfound identity as Spider-Man. He also tries to return to his normal daily routine, distracted by thoughts of proving himself to be more than just a friendly neighborhood superhero. Peter must soon put his powers to the test when the evil Vulture emerges to threaten everything that he holds dear, and the third film amongst the 92% club is probably no surprise to fans: 2012's Marvel's The Avengers. The film gave fans plenty of amazing moments and quippy one-liners, and made an insane amount of money at the box office. And along the way, it completely changed the course of the MCU, with the film's Battle of New York becoming a seminal event in a larger timeline. According to Rotten Tomatoes, the spectacle of the film lived up to the hype, while emphasizing its hero's humanity. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. When Thor's evil brother, Loki, Tom Hiddleston, gains access to the unlimited power of the energy cube called the Tesseract, Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., initiates a superhero recruitment effort to defeat the unprecedented threat to Earth. Joining Fury's dream team are Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., Captain America, Chris Evans, the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, Thor, Chris Hemsworth, the Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, and Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner. Tomato meter, 94%. The second best-rated MCU film on Rotten Tomatoes is the one that started it all, 2008's Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr.'s first turn at the role took audiences by surprise, creating a modern standout in Marvel's previously scattered array of film endeavors. Rotten Tomatoes also appreciated that sort of fresh outlook, calling the film a smart, high-impact superhero movie that even non-comic fans can enjoy. The official synopsis for the film can be found below. A billionaire industrialist and genius inventor, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., is conducting weapons tests overseas, but terrorists kidnap him to force him to build a devastating weapon. Instead, he builds an armored suit and upends his captors. Returning to America, Stark refines the suit and uses it to combat crime and terrorism. Tomato meter, 96%. And finally, the highest-rated MCU film on Rotten Tomatoes is none other than Black Panther. After audiences fell in love with T'Challa, Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, in Captain America: Civil War, Black Panther took fans to the world of Wakanda, following T'Challa's journey becoming king. In the process, audiences got to see some incredible visuals and production design. a slew of awesome female characters, and a breathtaking villain in Michael B. Jordan's Eric Killmonger. As Marvel fans know, critics praised Black Panther on almost all fronts, with Rotten Tomatoes arguing that the film elevates superhero cinema to thrilling new heights. One comments the official synopsis for the film can be found below. T'Challa, after the death of his father, the King of Wakanda, returns home to the isolated, technologically advanced African nation to succeed to the throne and take his rightful place as